there! Welcome back to Hawn Critters, a channel dedicated to talking and learning about, as well as getting to know a bunch of awesome small and large critters. So let's get to it! Today, we're going to be talking about everything that you're going to need if you want to get gerbils. We are joined today by Simon and his gerbil, Little Junior, who are going to be helping us with today's video.
Before we start, I'll give you a little backstory about Little Junior. When Gavin got Jacob, we decided to get Simon a hamster. I had a few hamsters growing up and absolutely loved them, so we got one for Simon and one of those Habitrail Ovo cages that you can attach the tunnels and tubes to, because we thought they were so cool, not knowing then what I know now about proper hamster care. Simon decided to name him Jesse. Unfortunately, Jesse did pass away from what I've learned was improper care. His cage wasn't big enough, he didn't have enough bedding to burrow and tunnel properly, he wasn't getting proper nutrition. Who knew that hamsters are omnivores and should have insects for protein, as well as the usual seeds, nuts, veggies, and hamster mixes? Not us at the time. Now we do. Dave had had gerbils growing up, and he remembered that they were fairly simple and hardy critters. So we were able to get a 10-gallon tank and a gerbil. Simon wanted to name him something that honored Jesse without naming him Jesse Jr., so he went with Little Jr. Still though, the proper research had not been done. His care was far better than Jesse's. He had a decent amount of space, a proper diet, lots of bedding for digging and burrowing, and lots of enriching toys, chews, and things to climb. What he is lacking is the safety and security of a friend or mate. I originally figured gerbils were solitary critters like hamsters normally are, but I was wrong. Unfortunately now, Junior has spent half his life without sharing his home, and it is best to have them joined with a litter mate, and that is not possible, and it can be too potentially dangerous to try and bond him with a new gerbil now. We aren't willing to risk his life or a new critter's life. So we will continue to care for Little Junior as best as we can, and be sure not to make the same mistakes in the future.
Alrighty, so now that you've learned a little bit about Little Junior here, let's move on to what you'll need for when you want to get gerbils.
The first thing you'll need is an enclosure.
There are a couple different options that you can use as an enclosure. The best one in my opinion is a minimum 10-gallon per gerbil aquarium, preferably with a thick metal screen lid, because gerbils are little escape artists. You can find these kinds of tanks at places like pet stores and Walmart, or on Amazon. Personally, the best place to try and get one is secondhand on Facebook or Kijiji. People are always trying to sell small aquariums, and it doesn't need to be able to hold water, which can make them even cheaper secondhand. Another option is a bin cage, which is basically a large plastic storage bin made up to be a cage. I'll do a video in the future about how to make up a bin cage. Bin cages can be great for some critters, like snakes, hedgehogs, and hamsters, but not so great for gerbils in my opinion. They just like to chew on things too much. But that being said, if you have a bin that has super thick plastic, go ahead and try to turn it into a bin cage. Just keep an eye out for an attempt to escape. Try to stay away from anything with metal bars. They do not allow for enough bedding for gerbils to tunnel, and it'll make one a heck of a mess outside the cage if you try. They'll often try chewing on the bars, and could end up hurting their teeth if they do, and they could potentially monkey bar, which is when you see them climbing the bars up to the top of the cage and across. And yes, that can look very cute, but it actually means that your critter is very bored and restless, and they could get seriously hurt if a limb got stuck between the bars. Best to just avoid metal cages altogether.
The second thing that you're going to need is some type of bedding for the cage or the tank.
This can be anything like Carefresh and KT Clean and Cozy paper bedding, eco cardboard shavings, and natural shavings like aspen wood or hay. Just stay away from pine and cedar shavings. They can cause very harmful respiratory infections. You can get any of the safe bedding options at pet stores, places like Walmart and Superstore, and on Amazon. You'll want to fill the tank at least 6 inches full with bedding so your gerbil can burrow and tunnel around, which they love to do. Or you can fill it about 4 inches and then give them non-glossy cardboard so they can chew it down into more bedding. That gives them the ability to chew and burrow without filling the tank too quickly. I know 6 inches of bedding seems like a lot, and you might be worried that the bedding will end up being expensive, But don't worry, you actually don't need to change the bedding very often, and should never really do a full bedding change unless you are going to reuse the tank for another gerbil after the first one sadly passes. You'll want to change 25 to 50% of the bedding monthly, so the gerbils can retain their scent in their bedding, and spot clean daily to weekly. As long as you spot clean semi-regularly, the tank will also likely not smell.
Another thing you're going to want for your gerbil is a sand bath.
Gerbils are desert dwellers, and it is not good for them to have water baths, but what they will do in the wild is clean themselves with dry sand to rub off dirt and to help them retain the natural protective oils in their fur. All you'll need for their sand bath is a dish, preferably ceramic so they can't chew it, that is big enough for them to roll around in, full of sand. The dish can come from literally anywhere. Dollar stores, stores like Walmart and Superstore, Amazon, secondhand, anywhere. The sand can be found at pet stores, but you can also use children's play sand from hardware stores. Just bake it at 350 for about 15 minutes to kill off any potentially harmful bacteria if you're worried. You want to make sure that if you're getting sand from a pet store, you make sure that it's sand, not dust. Dust is too fine and can cause respiratory problems when inhaled by your gerbils.
The next thing that you will need is a water bottle or a water dish.
It really is up to you if you want a bottle or a dish. A dish can be more natural, but a bottle needs to be cleaned and filled less often, but still daily to every few days. These can be found at places like Walmart, Superstore, pet stores, and Amazon cheap enough.
You will also want to provide your gerbil with a wheel for exercise.
At least 8 inches for an adult gerbil is recommended, but bigger is always better. Wheels can be more typically found at pet stores and Amazon. Not just any type of wheel will do though. It is important to make sure that the wheel has a smooth, solid running surface with no wire mesh or bars. Like with the cages, their paws or legs and arms can get caught and end up hurting them, except wheels keep moving and can hurt them even more.
Next up is food, because everything needs to eat.
Gerbils, like hamsters, are omnivores, so you want to make sure that you give your gerbils a wide variety of veggies, greens, seeds, nuts, and proteins like small dried mealworms. Mixing some nutrition pellets in with their food mixes is also a good idea, to make sure that they do get the necessary vitamins and minerals to thrive. Basic bags of hamster and gerbil food with various seeds and nuts and pellets can be found at stores like pet stores, Walmart, Superstore, and Amazon. You can also find DIY gerbil mixes online, and I do plan on releasing a DIY gerbil food video in the future, as well as a video going into more detail on what veggies and fruits are safe. If you want to see those sooner though, tell me in the comments. You will want to feed your gerbils every day to every other day, depending on how much food you're giving them each feeding. I personally suggest sprinkle feeding 1 to 2 scoops of food throughout the tank to encourage them to forage for their food, which can be very enriching for your gerbils.
You also want to have some Hidey Houses.
Anything big enough for your gerbil to fit in, with a hole for it to enter and exit from, will work for a Hidey House. Again, preferably ceramic so they don't chew it. You can get Hidey Houses from pet stores, Walmart, and Amazon, but you can also use things like Scentsy warmers, just don't put the tea lights in there clearly, to give you even more options for cute Hidey Houses. Of course, don't expect to see the cute Hidey Houses for very long. Odds are your gerbil will completely bury them with shavings within an hour, and tunnel from one to the other completely under the surface, not being able to be seen by us at all.
The next thing that you're going to want for your gerbils are some toys, chews, tunnels, treats, and boredom breakers for enrichment.
A busy gerbil is a happy gerbil. When they are bored, that's when they start to chew things they shouldn't and start to become aggressive. You can find tons of different enriching items from pet stores, Walmart, and Amazon. And boy, oh boy, are there a lot. Too many to list right now. Just check out a pet store or Amazon and see for yourself. But if you would like me to do an in-depth video on gerbil enrichment, let me know in the comments and I'll do it.
The last and probably most important thing that you'll need for your new gerbil is a vet fund.
Gerbils are considered exotic animals and will therefore require an exotic vet. Exotic vets can be more expensive and harder to find than a regular vet, but exotic vets specialize in exotic animals, more than the basic pets like cats and dogs. All living things, people and critters alike, deserve the ability to see a doctor when they are sick or hurt. and as a gerbil parent, it is our responsibility to make sure they do, as they can't themselves. So my suggestion is to set aside $20 every payday to save for potential vet expenses. It will definitely come in handy. And now that I think about it, you'll probably want to invest in a travel carrier so you can take your gerbils to the vet when you need to. I would suggest a hard, solid plastic carrier as opposed to a soft material carrier. Material will be far easier to chew through. You can get a hard plastic carrier from various pet stores and from Amazon.
So those are the basic essentials that you'll need for when you want to get yourself a gerbil. But before I wrap up this video, I just want to share with you a few things to remember about gerbils. So here we go.
Gerbils are social critters. They'll feel safer if they can live with a friend, preferably one of their litter mates. So if you can get 2 gerbils at the same time, that is definitely the way to go. Gerbils are master escape artists. If there is a way out of their enclosure, they'll find it and use it. Gerbils can live from 4 to 6 years, maybe even longer with exceptional care, so they can be a semi-lengthy commitment. Make sure to think about future plans like moving out and college before getting your gerbils. Gerbils are technically both diurnal and nocturnal. Basically, they sleep for a few hours and then are awake for a few hours, and then sleep again for a few more hours, and then awake for a few, yeah, you get it. All throughout the night and day, so at least you know you'll see them sometimes. If possible, try and adopt your gerbils from a rescue or reputable breeder. Personally, I feel it's better to try to save the life of an abandoned gerbil than to buy from a pet store that often, not always, gets their rodents from rodent mills where they live in unacceptable situations and are not socialized properly, making them more skittish. You also don't know if those rodent mills have problems with parasites or any other harmful diseases. Reputable breeders have a tendency to care more about their critters and handle them regularly, getting them adjusted to people. If you are intent on getting a gerbil from a pet store, try and inquire about where they get their animals from and check out what kind of situation they live in at the pet stores. Lastly, and again, make sure you do proper research before you get your gerbil. Do not just listen to the advice of pet store workers. Some do know their stuff and can be very helpful, but knowledge of animals is not a requirement to work at a pet store. So do your own research. There are tons of good sources on Google and YouTube. Remember, I am not an expert, and anything I tell you in this video is solely based on my experience and research that I've done personally. Please do not just watch this video and go get gerbils. Please watch more videos on top of this one, and do your own research to help make you the most prepared you can be for your new critters.
Alrighty, well that's it for now. I know that this was probably overwhelming and a lot of information. I hope that I didn't discourage you from getting gerbils. That was definitely not my intent. I just wanted to give you the knowledge beforehand so that you can get your gerbils and you won't need to rehome your gerbils in the future due to unnecessary reasons. Gerbils can be really awesome, low-maintenance critters that are just so cute to watch do their thing. And after all this information, you still want to go get gerbils? Go for it. I'm sure that you'll love them just as much as we love Little Junior here. As always, thanks so much for watching. I love you all. And if you see something in one of our videos that we're not doing correctly or could be doing better, please let me know in the comments. I'm always open to continued learning. Also, if there are specific things that you want to learn about in the future, let me know in the comments and we'll see what we can do. And if you liked that video, make sure you hit that like button. And if you haven't already, subscribe and ring the bell so you can be notified when we have a new video, which should be every week. Thanks again, and bye for now.